When Jamal Roberts stepped onto the stage in Indianapolis as part of the historic The Boy Is Mine Tour 2025, the air inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse shifted. It wasn't just another R&B concert night. No, this was the moment the audience didn't realize they were about to witness something unforgettable. In a lineup dominated by two of the most iconic voices in R&B history, Brandy and Monica, few expected the opener to become the show stealer. But that's exactly what happened on October 19th. From the first note out of his mouth, it became clear that Roberts wasn't just another rising star. He was a force of nature. What unfolded that night was more than just a performance. It was a declaration. The kind of performance that doesn't just earn applause, but silence. Moments where a stunned audience holds their breath. And the man delivering that experience? A 31-year-old former PE coach, father of 3 daughters, and gospel-trained powerhouse whose life had changed only months prior after winning American Idol. But to truly understand what made this performance so monumental, you have to rewind the story to where it all began. Mississippi roots, Idol glory, and a voice that carries decades of soul. Before he became the breakout act on a legacy R&B tour, Jamal Roberts was a name whispered with growing reverence in church choirs, community events, and small stages across the South. Hailing from Meridian, Mississippi, Roberts was more than just a singer. He was a local legend with a job in education and a voice that stirred emotions far beyond the school gym where he taught PE. His rise to national fame came in the spring of 2025, when he shocked the American Idol judges and the nation by bringing raw power, depth, and an undeniable emotional gravitas to his performances. Week after week, Roberts defied expectations, ultimately taking the season 23 crown in what critics called a resounding win for real music and real voices. What made his Idol journey stand out wasn't just his voice, it was his story. A single father deeply rooted in faith, who had never set foot in a major music venue before the show. And yet, he commanded the Idol stage like a seasoned veteran. He wasn't polished in the way manufactured pop stars are. He was polished in pain, faith, and perseverance. After his win, Roberts didn't fade into reality show history. Instead, he was handpicked as the opening act for The Boy Is Mine Tour by Brandy and Monica themselves, impressed not only by his vocal ability, but by his authenticity. And that decision set the stage for what would become his most unforgettable performance yet, live in Indianapolis. On the night of October 19th, 2025, Indianapolis was buzzing, not just because of Brandy and Monica's long-awaited reunion tour, but because word had already begun to spread that their opener, Jamal Roberts, was something special. The Gainbridge Fieldhouse was packed wall to wall, lights dimmed, and as the show began, Roberts took the stage with nothing but a mic stand and confidence. There were no flashy visuals, no choreographed dancers, just a man and his voice. And it worked. The audience, many of whom were likely unfamiliar with Roberts outside of Idol fans, were stunned into silence within the first 2 minutes of his set. The intimacy of his delivery felt out of place in such a massive venue, and that's what made it extraordinary. His opening number, a soulful reinterpretation of Ordinary People, was less a cover and more a spiritual exorcism, drawing immediate emotional reactions from the crowd. Cell phones went up, not just to capture, but to preserve a moment they knew was rare. You could hear audible gasps during his transitions. And midway through his set, when he launched into Heal, the song that had defined his Idol journey, you could feel the entire arena shift. People who had been chatting or distracted now stood still. For 5 minutes, the room belonged to him. This wasn't warm-up, this was domination, and it was only just the beginning of the night. To truly understand why this performance hit so hard, you have to look at the man behind the mic. Jamal Roberts isn't just a singer. He's a father of 3 daughters, a former PE teacher, and a man of deep-rooted faith. His performances are not just technical displays, they are acts of survival. Each lyric feels like it's connected to a story, an unpaid bill, a hospital visit, a moment he almost gave up. During his Idol run, Roberts was open about struggling with balancing parenthood and passion. And now, here he was, in front of thousands, proving that sacrifices do pay off. That energy of someone who made it not through privilege but through prayer and grit was palpable on that Indianapolis stage. You could hear it in his voice during the Bridge of Heel, where he nearly cracked, but instead soared. You could see it in the way he looked up, tears nearly forming after his final note. And perhaps most powerful of all was the moment fans noticed his daughters watching from the wings, clapping proudly. In that arena, under those lights, a full circle moment was unfolding. For Roberts, this tour wasn't just a gig, it was a living testimony. And for the fans, it was a privilege to witness. Brandy and Monica are R&B royalty, there's no doubt about that. Their 1998 duet, The Boy Is Mine, defined an era, and their joint tour in 2025 marked the reunion of two queens whose feud turned friendship had captivated audiences for decades. So for Jamal Roberts to be part of that narrative and not get lost in the shadow was no small feat. In fact, many concertgoers later admitted they hadn't expected the opening act to leave such an impression. But Roberts didn't just meet the moment, he reframed it. His presence added something the tour needed: new blood, raw energy, and the sense that R&B's next chapter was already here. He didn't compete with Brandy or Monica, he complemented them. His gospel-tinged soul bridged their legacy with the future. And the synergy backstage, reportedly, was nothing but love. Sources close to the tour say Monica was brought to tears watching him rehearse Heel and personally requested it be on his nightly set list. Brandy reportedly told him, "You remind me why I started." These weren't just cosigns, they were coronations. On that night in Indianapolis, Roberts may have walked in as an opener, but he walked out as a peer, and perhaps most importantly, as an heir. What Jamal Roberts did in Indianapolis wasn't luck. It wasn't a fluke. It was the result of years of unseen work, sleepless nights, and an unwavering belief that his voice had a purpose. That night became a turning point, not just for the audience who saw him in a new light, but for Roberts himself. It was the moment he proved that Idol didn't define him, it introduced him. Since that performance, demand for his solo tour has spiked. His streaming numbers have climbed, and fans across the country are asking the same question: when's his album coming? But more than metrics, what lingers from that night is a feeling, a sense that something special happened, that amidst the legacy of Brandy and Monica, a new voice quietly carved his own path. No gimmicks, no scandals, just raw talent and soul. So as the tour continues and the stages get bigger, one thing is certain: we won't forget what happened in Indianapolis. And years from now, when Jamal Roberts headlines his own sold-out arena tour, fans will look back and say, "I saw it begin. I was there when the boy became the moment."